Your latest article has the headline, "It's time to reassess the value of conference championships." What do you mean by that?
You know, this is an idea that kind of came to me even before last weekend, just looking at those matchups. And really, when you think about it, the one that stood out to me was Penn State, Wisconsin. Those were not the two best teams in the Big Ten. I don't think there was really any way to argue that the two best teams in the Big Ten were playing in that game. And from there, I just got to thinking about, the fact that that's often the case. Usually the best two teams in a conference, a lot of times, sometimes they don't play at all because of these, the scheduling that's no longer really round robin like it was years ago, or because, they're in the same division, so that's impossible in those title games. And really, when it gets right down to it, at this point, conferences are little more than just kind of television revenue alliances. And you look at the Big 12 earlier this year and the expansion talk, and the fact that when all was said and done, they decided not to expand. A lot of it was because of television, and television is king in these alliances, and that's what these are. They're no longer these geographical, partnerships where it makes sense, and there are these rivalries, and teams are playing each other every year. And it's so hard to see the value in a conference championship in a lot of cases anymore. Some conferences, it makes sense. The best team is there. Maybe not both of the two best teams, but the best team plays in the game. They win. That makes sense. But it can't be an automatic criteria anymore, I think, for earning a playoff berth. And I'm glad to see that Ohio State got in there as, a team that didn't play in a conference championship game, which is the first time in the few years of the playoffs that's happened. And I think that's a good precedent to set.
But Joan, and I hear what you're saying, shouldn't conference titles mean something though? And how about expanding the playoffs to 6 or 8 teams, and that way you can get all of your Power 5 conference champions into the mix, and then have at least 1, maybe 3 at-large teams going there. And of course, I'm sure coaches would love to have that, to be able to say in recruiting, and also get maybe bonuses that they were conference champions. And you talked about the TV revenue. I mean, there's going to be more money to be had for all the programs involved. So why not do it?
I agree completely. I don't see a whole lot of arguments against an 8-team playoff. I actually wrote about that earlier this year, and I agree. I think it eliminates a lot of this controversy where you have to pick between, say, the best team that meets the eye test in a conference versus the conference champion. It totally eliminates that argument. It increases TV revenue. People are going to watch those games. People are going to love an 8-team playoff, I think. And it's going to also allow for teams like, say, Western Michigan, who really had no shot in the current playoff construction of making it, and who probably would get killed by an Alabama. But still, it would be fun to see teams like that make the playoff, I think. I think there's a ton of arguments for an 8-team playoff, and I understand that that's not something you can snap your fingers and implement tomorrow. College sports are a slow-moving evolution, and I think we are evolving towards that.